Well, I'm back on. First time in 3 weeks, but the move is done. I hope you all saw the tour of my wonderful new home here at the RV resort and how I've done my patio up and inside. And I want to apologize for everyone. And I want to thank them for their patience and their consideration during this move and this transition. But today, we're here to catch up on the book club. And this book, oh my goodness, this has been such a good book. I hated to put it down, but my bookmark sent to me by my wonderful viewer who made it. But tonight, we're going to talk about chapters 13, 14, and 15. And I'm telling you, this book has really gotten good. It's gotten into the point where it's left me with all kinds of questions and surprised me at every page turn. I mean, this book is really loaded with things. So if you haven't read it or haven't caught up, go back and look some of the other views. It's Jerry B. Jenkins, Though None Go With Me. And it's a wonderful book. It really is. So tonight is going to be very exciting because tonight, during this book, we get into the depression and how the characters made it through the depression and some of the struggles they went through and some of the things they had to go for. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to get on. I know it's been a few weeks. I did my video on Monday to let people know I was coming back, so I'm hoping everybody will join me. I didn't do a short today to tell everybody. It's just been one of those days. I'm trying to see if I can I see a couple people are on, but I don't see any. I see hearts. I don't see comments. I can't see your comments. Oh boy, this is not going to be good. If anybody's out there, write me a comment. Let me see if I can see comments. I see hearts. Thank you. But write me a comment. Let me know how the weather is where you are. There we go. I've got somebody. Hi. Thank you, sweetie. Christine. Hi there. All right. Got some new people. I am doing great today. I still have bags under my eyes. Still trying to recoup and rest up after this move. Oh my goodness. And it was such a transition between a huge house and an RV. But God has made the way for me. Everything has run smoothly. It takes a lot of effort. I'm not going to tell you a story about that. A lot of effort, a lot of hard work. But the transition has been very, very well. Christina, thank you, sweetie. I'm so glad to be back. I missed y'all so much. I really missed y'all so much. But my life has been so hectic and so busy. Yes, I just moved. I moved from a huge rancher on 2 acres, and God has now put me in an RV resort and an RV. So, yes, Steve, if you haven't caught my video, go back and view my video of moving in and how I'm coping things. So, all I can say is I started this YouTube channel 2 years ago, knowing that God had a mission for me, had something for me to do. So I started sharing His Word, doing Bible study, and just sharing me. And then God said, apparently, nope, that is not enough. So God picked me up from a house, put me out here, and I know it was God because everything has run so smoothly and so easily and softly. But I'm just waiting to see what He has next in store for me. I follow where He leads. Well, hello, Lalit. I hope I'm not pronouncing that name wrong. Well, I've got a few regulars. I don't see them signed on for the book club. So, tell me in the comments, has anybody out there read the book, or are you just joining to see what we're talking about and how things are going? Hey, DJ. Hi, sweetie. So, let me know. Is this something you've been following? You spread your love and is received. Oh, Christina, thank you so much, sweetheart. And that's just what I try to do. You know, God commands all of us to be disciples. You know, when we're saved, to spread His word, and that's what I try to do. Where am I from? I'm in Virginia, in the good old U.S. of A., state of Virginia. The state that doesn't know whether it's cold or hot. It doesn't know what it is. I haven't joined, but I'd love to watch. Oh, well, thank you, Christina. You should join, sweetie, because I've got some new cooking videos coming out. We've got some great fall crafts coming up. Oh, my goodness. I'm so excited about being able to decorate. Pittsburgh. Oh, my goodness. Home of the Steelers. You got Aaron Rodgers. All right. I see that. Yep. You got Aaron Rodgers. Good job. So, they've been playing pretty good this year. Yep. Yep. I follow football. Big football fan. My team is the Raiders. Been with them since they were in Oakland. Years and years, since the 70s. I've followed them here to Oakland, to Los Angeles, to Oakland, now to Las Vegas. So, yep, big football fan. We have NFL Network. Won't miss a game. Love it. Give here some likes. Let's go. Okay. All right. So, I don't see my regulars, Sheila or Mara. But, do y'all want to start talking about the Depression and the book? Because our characters here are going through the Depression. It has hit. And you know, we study about the Depression. We hear about the Depression. And, you know, this is a family who the husband, the breadwinner, was a major exec in this huge company. And the Depression hit so hard, they were laying off hundreds of people at a time trying to keep the company going. And he was actually able to keep his job, but during the course of the years that the Depression went through, he took like a 3/4 pay cut raise, and he wasn't working but like 2 or 3 days a week, had to do any job he could find. What I really thought was interesting is they lived in Michigan, in a city. I've got Cookie, my little kitty here. They lived in a city, but they started growing a garden. This is my Cookie. This is my Cookie who wanted to stop by and say hello. But they started a huge garden so they could be more self-supportive. And like I said, he was taking in odd jobs, and she was taking in laundry, watching children. Now, they had 3 children of their own. And it made it more difficult. And each of the 3 children were different. Benji, or Benjamin, their oldest, had a really hard time. His behavioral problems were terrible. Now, this is a religious family, active in church and prayers and Bible study at home and scripture and this and that. And Benji was just being rebellious in Sunday school, in church, in school. In fact, he had to repeat the 3rd grade because he just was not studious. And he was a major behavior problem. In fact, it really got my attention when they were talking about he got accused of setting fires. And I'm like, oh my gosh, fire is such a dangerous thing. And as we'll find later on in the book exactly how dangerous. So, it's just the Depression. I mean, the foods they ate, ate more vegetables and fruits, things they could grow. The economy just went down to nothing. I mean, you're talking people that had always paid their bills and this and that, but, you know, the banks didn't have money to loan. It wasn't that their credit wasn't good and they weren't in good standing. It's just literally the banks did not have any money to loan. The banks were broke. And as we look back in history, there were so many banks at that time that went bankrupt. You know, we didn't have the FDIC that we have now, where the government secures the banks and insures our money, thank goodness, because I don't know what happened if I would lose my money I had in the bank. And, I mean, these people were just resilient. They were wonderful. But we have tragedy that's striking. Several times, tragedy strikes. Now, we know Elizabeth is a woman of God. In fact, at a young age of 12, she pledged her life to God. And she's being tested. But let's talk about Bruce, her youngest son. Smart as a whip. Took to God and took to church just like she did. But we see where God saves his life several times. The drowning, playing across a bridge that all three children, Benjamin, Betty, and Bruce, had played on. He slipped, he fell, hit his head, knocked him unconscious. He's floating downstream. Now, this is 1923. I mean, Elizabeth, his mother, she jumped in. She was smart enough to know, or was she? Was she led by the Holy Spirit, or was she smart enough to know that she had to go downstream to be there, to catch him, not just jump in and swim and try to save him? No. So she went downstream. And the author in this book describes things so meticulously, even to the fact that, remember, 1923, they wore the old Victorian dresses, the long, heavy wool dresses, the long sleeves. So therefore, when she jumped in that water, can you imagine what a wool dress would do to your weight? I mean, it had to just weigh her down like a rock. But she caught her son. She saved her son. And what I thought was very interesting is by the time she had got him out of the water, there had other people, neighbors had come with blankets to help him out and whatnot. And one of the elderly gentlemen there said that God saved your son. God saved your son because God has a purpose for your son. He has a mission for your son, so he saved your son. The boy was 8 years old. And already you could see God working in his life and see the plans that God had for him. I just thought that was so touching, exciting. And the little boy, being so naive, looked at his mother and says, "No, Mommy, you saved me." And she says, "No, I saved you with the help of God. God saved you." So I thought that was very, very touching. Now, let's go back and talk about Will, the father and husband. Now, he was up in the company, had a very high position. He was active in church, active in the politics, president of the PTA, president of the Rotary Club. I mean, he was active, active, active. He was also firm in his belief and knew that his job was to help other people. And like all of us, our jobs are to make the world a better place than it was when we got here. But he was running himself ragged between working his job, working part-time jobs, doing whatever he could to fill in. And even the children, Bruce had a lemonade stand. He would sell the vegetables that they raised door to door to earn money. And Betty, poor Betty, asthma, lung problems. It sounded almost like she had an autoimmune system. She was just always sick. But I noticed in the book it did say in winter and cold months she could breathe better. So that did tell me it was an asthmatic lung condition. But then you have Benjamin. Unruly child. Didn't help. Didn't want to do chores. Didn't want to help with his siblings. Didn't want to do things. So each of the three children were not only different, but they had their own different personalities. And I thought that was so interesting. You know, I speak as a mother of 4 children, all raised the same household, same mother, same father, and all 4 of them are different. They all 4 have different personalities, different likes, different interests. It's just amazing. You know, you think that children would have, you know, it's just amazing. So, now, Will, the husband, he started having memory issues. Memory issues. Now, it started small, and it grew, and it grew. And in fact, at the age of 34, Will was 34, he was diagnosed with dementia. Wow, can you imagine? I mean, we hear of dementia and Alzheimer's now, but 34 years old. So he was put into a hospital, basically an institution, and diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And as we know now, Alzheimer's is not curable now. It wasn't curable then. So here we have this woman back in the 20s, early 20s, just getting out of the depression. Her husband's in an institution, regressing to childhood. I mean, he's going to go back to the point where he can't walk, he can't talk. He's going to go back to being in diapers again like he was a baby. And she's got 3 children to raise. So this had to be very traumatic for her and for the children. But I will give her credit, even though the doctor said, he's at the point now where he doesn't recognize you, he doesn't know you. She still went and saw him every day, unless she was sick. Every day she was there to visit him. Did he know her? No. Could he communicate with her? No. But she was there. And I thought one of the best quotes so far in these chapters 13, 14, 15 was what she said when people were calling her a fool for going to visit him at the hospital. She said, "I'm a fool for Christ and a fool for Will," her husband. And that just, we know how much she loved Christ and God, and she loved her husband. So, let's talk now. As we progress, we're out of the depression. She took a job at a pharmacy, and all of a sudden, she has to go to her eldest son, Benjamin, the troublemaker, the problem child, and tell him that now he is going to have to be the man of the house. Well, what did you think of his reaction? Oh, the little brat, I wanted to turn him over my knee. But he said, okay, well, from now on, you don't call me Benji anymore. You call me Benjamin. And I said, okay, well, wait a minute. That could be a sign of maturity. Okay, let me give him props for that. But then he turned to her and he said, okay, if I'm the man of the house, no more religion. No more of this going to church. No more of all this stuff. He said, I hated it. Never liked it. Don't agree with it. And if there's a God, and so many people feel this way, if there's a God, why is he punishing my father? Why is he making my father sick? So many times we doubt God. But we have to remember, God's ways are not our ways. God's timing is not our timing. And he answers prayers, but does he always answer them the way we think they should be answered? No. But he's a lot wiser than us. He is going to do what's best for us. Just like me. He moved me from this nice house, and I'm in an RV. What is his mission for me? I don't know. But I can guarantee you, his mission for me is something better than I could wish for myself. And he's going to make it happen. And I'm just going to keep praying and keep waiting for him to send me that message to tell me, okay, Heather, you've progressed. This is what you're going to do now. I'm actually excited. I'm thrilled to hear and know. I mean, I don't want to say flattered, but I feel honored that God is using me and that God has plans for me. I mean, so many times we pray to God and we don't know whether he hears us, but we can see his hand in action. It's just, oh my gosh. And that's where I am now. So, let's talk about the house fire. Oh boy. Now we know Benjamin as he wants to be called now, has a history of being suspected. Well, hello Larry, how are you? being suspected of arsons. Well, their house goes up. Now, let's think about that. Benjamin was the first one to get out of the house. The mother got Betty, the daughter, out, and as she was trying to go in Bruce's room to wake him up, smoke had already succumbed him. He was unconscious. She picked him up, and this was a child of 8 years old. Now, we're not talking a baby. And she couldn't get him through the house. The fire was just too much. So what did she do? Brave woman. And this we hear so many times of women and their children and what they will do and the measures they will do and go through for their children. She held him in his arms and she went through the bedroom window, a 2-story bedroom window. Well, we know she fell to the ground. Bruce was not hurt. She cushioned his fall, but she permanently injured her back. And throughout her entire life, they never diagnosed her and never could treat her or cure her. But she did that for the love of her child. It was just amazing. And as Bruce grew, the youngest, but as Bruce grew and became more involved in different activities and things, I like the point where he told his mother, he says, I'm going to be a pastor or a missionary or a choir director. I mean, he knew at that young age that God had something in mind and in store for him. I just think we are all so blessed to know that God is working in our lives and that God has plans for us. So, the sad part, the husband was dying in the institution. We know that, of Alzheimer's. She was going through a lot for that. But after the fire in the house that they called arson, they couldn't blame it on Benji. They couldn't prove he did it, but we know he did it. She was actually, her words, scared to death of Benjamin. Can you imagine, as a mother, being scared of your child, knowing that your child had made a house fire? I mean, were the hopes that his mother and his brother and his sister would be killed? What were his intentions? I mean, obviously we know he was jealous of his younger brother because his younger brother was smarter, had surpassed him in school because he had failed. It's just, why would a child do that? Now, we can't say this was a bad child. This child was brought up in church and brought up with religion, just like his other 2 siblings. But something inside of him, the jealousy, the envy, whether it was for the attention that his parents gave Benji more or less. Betty was sick, very sick. In fact, she spent 3 weeks in a hospital with her asthma and her lung conditions. So naturally, she got some more attention. And Bruce, being so good in school and his endeavors and being kind and loving and sharing, yes, he got attention. But can jealousy lead someone to attempt to harm their family? I mean, we look back now at all the evil things going on in this world. Just look at the shootings and things that have happened in the last week. Oh my goodness. It's just so sad, so terrible. And we wonder what are going through these people's minds to make them feel like this. It's just amazing. But the book is getting to the point now. We know the father with Alzheimer's is going to die soon. We know that. We know the mother is doing the best she can to support these children. But we also know the depression is over. Now the banks are going to start calling their loans. Their house is not paid off. I believe in the book it said they had 1 more year of mortgage to pay on the house. So she's going to have to struggle, whether it be watching children, taking laundry, her job at the drugstore, whatever she can do. Now, I firmly believe, because of Bruce, the youngest, if he was old enough, he would go to work and he would help support the family. Benjamin, I don't know. Doesn't want to do chores, doesn't want to do tasks around the house or take care of his siblings. So I got cat hair on me from Cookie up here. So we don't know where it's going to go. And Betty, she's not getting any better. She's sicker and sicker. And she's at the point now where she's having to repeat third grade because of her illness and her constant coughing. Put yourself in her place. She has asthma. How many people do we, my granddaughter has asthma. How many people do we know have asthma and they cough? But back in the 20s, they didn't realize it was asthma. It's not something contagious. Parents were complaining to the school and everything else because this child's coughing. We don't want this child in school to make our children sick. It's just medical reasons weren't understood back then. So here you have a child, an innocent child, that doesn't want to be sick. She's not asking to be sick. But because she coughs, they don't want her in school because they're afraid she'll give her asthma to another child. We know now how preposterous that is. It's not possible. But back then, they didn't know. Just like in 1923, he was one of the first diagnosed with Alzheimer's. They diagnosed dementia, but they pinpointed to Alzheimer's back then. I mean, look at just in the last 100 years how much our medical field has progressed. It's just a wonderful thing. Well, that's a review of chapter 13, 14, and 15. That's all I've got. Now, I don't see any questions about the book or anybody else, but if you want to catch up on the book, because it's so good, go back and look at my Wednesdays studies, because every Wednesday we review at least 3 or 4 chapters, and catch up on the book. And join us next week. Next Thursday, 6 o'clock, we will be live again with the book club. And next week, we're going to go over chapters 16, 17, 18, and 19. So if you have the book, can get the book online or can get the audio book. I mean, books at the library doesn't have to cost you anything. You know me, I'm budget friendly and frugal. Go to the library, check it out. But this week, read chapters 16, 17, 18, 19. And next Thursday, we will be live again at 6 o'clock. And we'll review those chapters and continue delving in this book, Though None Go With Me, and see where God has in store for Elspeth, and especially what he has in store for young Bruce. So, thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate my time for you. And I hope you all have a blessed week. And Lord willing, we meet again. Remember, stay blessed. And Genesis 31:49. The Lord watched between me and thee when we are absent from one another.